Welcome to the debate. When you or I drive down a steep hill in a standard passenger car, there's this underlying expectation of precision. We just tap the brake pedal.
Right.
We don't really think about the physics involved. We rely entirely on this unbroken promise between our foot, the fluid, the brake pads, and the asphalt.
Yeah, it's basically an unconscious reflex. I mean, you press the pedal and the vehicle stops. It feels entirely binary.
Exactly.
It either works or it doesn't. And for 99.9% of us, it always works.
But scale that up to an 80,000-pound commercial truck, navigating a 6% grade, and suddenly that promise becomes terrifyingly fragile. So today, we're debating the ultimate trucker's nightmare.
We're looking at America's most treacherous freight corridors, and we're asking a fundamental question about danger and control. What is more likely to cause absolute catastrophe?
Right. And I take the position that the relentless, unforgiving physics of steep mountain descents pose the greatest threat. Mainly because they systematically trigger catastrophic mechanical failure.
And I take the opposing view. Gravity is a constant, yes, but I argue that severe, high winds present a fundamentally superior threat. I mean, wind represents a sudden, uncontrollable external force that just entirely overrides any measure of driver skill or mechanical preparation.
To really understand why steep grades are the ultimate hazard, I mean, we have to look at terrains that absolutely do not forgive bad habits. The core danger of a steep descent doesn't lie in a sudden violent event. It lies in the insidious, invisible buildup of heat. Like, let's talk about the mechanics for a second. Unlike a passenger car that uses hydraulic fluid, a commercial truck uses a pneumatic air brake system.
Right, air pressure instead of fluid.
Exactly. Air pressure pushes a push rod, which turns an S-cam, which forces the brake shoes outward against a steel drum. So when a driver is navigating a multi-mile descent like the Grapevine in California, and they rely too heavily on that foot brake instead of preemptively downshifting.
Oh, they're generating immense thermal energy.
Yeah, and that thermal energy has nowhere to go. The kinetic energy of an 80,000-pound vehicle dropping thousands of feet is entirely converted into heat at the wheels.
Wow.
The brake drums actually physically expand away from the brake shoes due to that thermal load. And at the same time, the resins in the brake pads melt and coat the friction surface. It turns it into a smooth, glass-like layer.
Ah, so that's brake fade.
That is brake fade. At that exact moment, the brakes literally become too weak to stop the truck. The driver presses a pedal, they hear the air release, but nothing happens. The road takes over. The mountain is now driving the truck.
That systemic mechanical betrayal under the pressure of gravity makes steep grades the ultimate threat. I acknowledge the terrifying reality of brake fade, and the physics you just described are incredibly punishing. But I come at it from a different way.
Okay.
I argue that high winds present a far superior threat precisely because they completely bypass the mechanics of the truck. Let's look at Wyoming's wind corridor on Interstate 80.
Oh yeah, that stretch is notorious.
High winds there frequently and violently blow trucks completely off the road. Think about the physical geometry of a commercial vehicle. You have a 53-foot-long trailer sitting 13.5 feet in the air.
Right.
In a severe crosswind, that trailer is no longer a cargo container. It instantly becomes a massive sail.
A sail with an incredibly high center of gravity.
Precisely. You have over 700 square feet of surface area, suddenly subjected to thousands of pounds of lateral force. Now, contrast that with your Grapevine example. A steep grade can be managed.
Well, managed to a degree.
Right, but it is mitigated through disciplined driving technique. A driver can select a lower gear at the summit. They can engage the engine retarder, the Jake brake, which alters the exhaust valves and slows the truck down without ever touching the friction brakes.
But a severe crosswind, it strips the driver of all control, regardless of how meticulously they followed protocol. You simply cannot outskill a 60-mile-per-hour gust of wind that fundamentally alters the lateral friction of your tires.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on the relationship between driver skill and the environment. Let's talk about Vail Pass in Colorado. It's widely considered one of the deadliest stretches of road for truck drivers anywhere in the country.
Definitely a treacherous spot.
Right. Terrains like Vale Pass are uniquely dangerous because they actively exploit human overconfidence. It's like an ambush. The failure on a steep grade happens sequentially.
Okay, how so?
Well, it begins with a seemingly minor miscalculation at the summit, maybe choosing 7th gear instead of 6th. Because the truck is heavy, it picks up speed faster than anticipated, so the driver dabs the foot brake to correct it. That single action initiates the heat buildup.
But a sequential failure is by definition a preventable one, isn't it?
Let me finish the sequence though, because it's a psychological trap as much as a mechanical one. The environment tricks the driver. They press the brake and the truck slows down. The brain says, okay, the brakes work. I am in control.
I say.
A mile later, they do it again. It still works. What the driver doesn't realize is that the thermal capacity of those drums is climbing closer to the absolute limit with every tap. It's an accumulation of micro errors wrapped in the illusion of safety.
Right, the trap snaps shut.
Exactly. By the time they actually realize they've relied too heavily on the friction brakes, the heat has already caused the fade. The trap has already snapped shut. The weight of their own loaded truck, the very cargo they are paid to safely transport, becomes the weapon used against them.
I hear what you're saying about the psychological trap, but I have to stop you there. I just don't buy that sequence as proof that grades are the ultimate danger. In fact, the sequence you just outlined proves the exact opposite.
Wait, how does it prove the opposite?
It proves that grades are a manageable threat.
Manageable right up until the moment they aren't.
But there are multiple points of intervention. I mean, the driver has agency at the summit to choose the correct gear. They have agency to monitor their speed and apply engine braking before the thermal load becomes critical. The engineering protocols exist to prevent the disaster entirely.
That's fair, but humans make mistakes.
Sure, but look at Wyoming's wind corridor. There is no such mechanical protocol for a crosswind. There's no switch on the dashboard, no gear you can select that suddenly makes a 53-foot rectangular box aerodynamic from the side.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
The wind doesn't wait for you to make a sequential mistake. It doesn't groom you with a false sense of security. It simply removes the truck from the roadway.
I would argue that weather forecasting gives the driver agency, though. I mean, a driver can pull over if the winds are severe. It's not a complete ambush in the way a melted brake line is. They know a storm is coming.
Ah, but that assumes wind acts like a predictable storm front. Out on I-80 or in certain canyon passes, you deal with microbursts and canyon funneling.
Oh, right.
A driver can be rolling along in entirely manageable conditions and suddenly hit a geographic gap where the wind is being compressed and accelerated. And here's the most terrifying variable, the load weight.
Okay, explain that.
If a truck is carrying 45,000 pounds of steel coils, it has a low center of gravity and massive vertical force keeping the tires pinned to the asphalt. But what if they're hauling potato chips? Or what if the trailer is completely empty?
Well, the sail area remains identical, but the anchoring mass is gone.
Exactly. An empty trailer might only weigh 14,000 pounds, but it catches the exact same amount of wind as a fully loaded one. When that sudden canyon gust hits an empty or light trailer, the lever arm effect tips the entire rig over in a fraction of a second.
Wow.
If a threat can be entirely neutralized by proper protocol, like a steep descent, it is by definition less of a threat than an environmental force that cannot be mitigated by engineering.
That's a really strong point about the physics of an empty trailer. Though I would frame the concept of the trap a bit differently. You mentioned geographic gaps funneling wind, but I want to talk about true infrastructure traps. Let's look at Breezewood, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Breezewood, yeah.
It's a notorious stretch where the interstate system essentially fractures. You have highly speed commercial traffic that is abruptly dumped onto a local road infrastructure, complete with static traffic lights. It is a literal physical trap built into the geography of the route.
Breezewood is fascinating. It's a perfect example of an environment overwhelming the design of the vehicle.
Right, because the driver has been running at 65 miles per hour for hours. The brakes are completely cold, meaning they don't have their optimal coefficient of friction yet. And suddenly, the driver has to haul 80,000 pounds to a dead stop at a red light in the middle of a commercial strip.
That's a nightmare scenario.
Or, conversely, they've just come down a grade. The brakes are hovering right near their thermal limit, and instead of a long run-out to let the air flow through the drums, they hit a sudden infrastructure bottleneck. This is why I maintain that gravity and mechanical failure are the superior threat.
I see.
The infrastructure itself conspires with the physics of the vehicle to create situations where the brakes are set up to fail.
Well, I'm not totally convinced by that line of reasoning, mostly because it treats the infrastructure as the primary weapon, rather than the physical environment itself. When we talk about greasewood or even failures, we're still talking about a two-dimensional problem. The truck is on the road, the tires are on the pavement.
But if the brakes are gone, being on the pavement doesn't save you. I mean, you're an unguided missile at that point.
It doesn't guarantee your safety, but consider the physical geometry of the aftermath. When a truck loses its brakes on a steep grade, even one as notoriously destructive as the grapevine, the driver still has the steering wheel. They still have traction.
Barely.
But they do. They can theoretically take evasive action. They can aim the truck into a runaway truck ramp designed specifically with deep gravel to arrest their momentum. They can intentionally rub the side of the trailer against a mountain retaining wall to scrub off speed. They still have a degree of influence over the vehicle's trajectory.
I think any driver who has experienced a runaway truck would argue that influence is a very generous term when you're doing 80 miles an hour down a mountain.
Generous, perhaps, but mathematically resistant. In stark contrast, when a truck is blown over on I-80 by Wyoming's high winds, the vehicle is physically removed from the safety of the corridor entirely. The wheels lose contact with the pavement.
That is terrifying.
Right? There is no evasive steering when your steer tires are floating in the air. You can't aim for a runaway ramp when the trailer is already tipping past a 45-degree angle. The wind is a far more absolute threat because it doesn't just disable the truck's stopping power. It entirely nullifies the vehicle's connection to the earth.
That's a chilling image, the wheels literally leaving the pavement. But I think we need to drill down into the philosophical core of what we are really talking about here, which is the terrifying moment when the environment makes the decision for the driver.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we build these immense 500 horsepower machines, we do so with the inherent assumption that human intellect will master them. We engineer air brakes, retarders, ABS systems, all to enforce our will on the machine.
Right, we over-engineer them specifically to conquer the geography.
Exactly. So when a driver has to surrender to a mountain road because their friction brakes have glazed over and melted, it represents a profound, catastrophic collapse of everything we engineered.
I see what you mean.
The driver is sitting in the cab, fully conscious, desperately pushing a pedal that is functionally dead. They are trapped inside a failing machine, watching the disaster unfold in real time, completely robbed of their agency. That slow, agonizing realization of powerlessness, brought on by the specific demands of the steep grade, is the most profound danger a professional driver can face.
It is haunting. I completely agree. Pushing a dead pedal is the stuff of nightmares. But I interpret the implication of making the decision very differently.
How so?
Well, if the mountain road gets to make the decision because the brakes faded, it only got that opportunity because the driver handed over the gavel at the top of the hill. Yes, the human-machine interface failed, but the domino effect was initiated by human error. The driver pushed the thermal limits.
So you're saying the betrayal isn't from the machine, but from the driver's own misjudgment?
Precisely. Now, contrast that with the wind corridor. Wyoming's high winds make the decision for the driver instantly, and they do it without asking for permission, without a buildup of heat, and without waiting for a mistake.
Just completely sudden.
The wind demonstrates that the environment is always, fundamentally, the superior force over our equipment. When a crosswind tips a trailer past its tipping point, the driver's agency isn't just lost in slow motion. It never mattered in the first place.
That's a bleak way to look at it.
But true, you can be the safest, most experienced, most mechanically sound driver on the continent, and the wind will still toss your rig into the ditch like a toy. That isn't just a failure of engineering. That is true, uncontrollable chaos.
So, looking at the full scope of our discussion, my position remains rooted in the mechanics and the psychology of the descent. The mechanical demands of steep grades, specifically the unforgiving unforgiving nature of brake fade and the incredibly rapid generation of heat represent the most critical systemic danger to truckers.
Right.
Terrains like Vale Pass and the Grapevine are uniquely deadly because they exploit human overconfidence. They turn a seemingly manageable descent into a slow-motion ambush that ends in total mechanical failure.
And my stance remains anchored in the absolute physical dominance of environmental forces. High winds, such as those brutal crosswinds found on Wyoming's I-80 corridor, are the ultimate insurmountable hazard. While steep grades punish bad driving habits and mechanical neglect, severe winds punish mere existence on the road. They bypass the driver's skill entirely and physically overpower the vehicle, removing it entirely from the driving surface.
I think there is a powerful point of convergence here, though, despite our disagreement on the primary mechanism of the danger. Whether it is a steep mountain descent exploding a momentary lapse in judgment, or a canyon microburst physically lifting a trailer off the asphalt, the deadliest roads ultimately achieve the exact same terrifying outcome. They both strip the driver of their agency.
Exactly. They take the illusion that the driver is the absolute master of the vehicle and they shatter it. They remind us that the margin for error out there is razor thin.
It really gives you a profound respect for the immense pressures that commercial drivers face every single day. They're navigating these incredibly treacherous corridors, constantly balancing the laws of physics against tight delivery schedules.
Absolutely. The interplay between infrastructure, extreme terrain, and commercial vehicle engineering is a massive topic with so many layers to explore.
I encourage everyone listening to weigh the mechanical realities of brake fade against the raw power of atmospheric conditions and draw your own conclusions about where the true ultimate danger lies.
There is definitely a lot more danger lurking under the surface of the asphalt and in the air above it.
Indeed. So the next time you are driving down a hill in your passenger car and you instinctively reach your foot out to just tap the brakes, take a second to think about the incredible physics required to keep that unbroken promise. Thank you for joining us on The Debate.